If fantasy K-dramas are your thing, you already know they're not just about magic or supernatural gimmicks. They're about taking familiar emotions and turning them upside down in the most unexpected ways. This top 6 fantasy K-drama list is especially fun because it mixes rom-com chaos, epic mythology, time travel, wish fulfillment, body swaps, and even a very unconventional superhero. These are the kinds of dramas that make you laugh one minute, question reality the next, and then suddenly realize you're emotionally invested in something you didn't expect at all. As I go through each one, I really want you to think about which concept excites you the most, because fantasy dramas say a lot about what kind of emotional escape we're craving at a certain moment in our lives. Let's start with My Girlfriend is the Man, because this one immediately grabs attention just from the title alone. The story follows Park Yoon-jae, a college student whose girlfriend Kim Ji-ain suddenly transforms into a man and starts living as Kim Ji-hoon. This drama leans heavily into rom-com territory, but underneath the humor, there's a surprisingly thoughtful exploration of identity, love, and attraction. What happens when the person you love is still the same inside, but everything on the outside has changed? Yoon San-ha brings that slightly awkward but sincere boyfriend energy, while Aaron does a great job establishing the emotional foundation of the relationship before the transformation even happens. The addition of Yoo Jung-hoo as the male version of Ji-eun makes the situation even more interesting, because now the audience is forced to confront their own assumptions about romance. I personally love fantasy concepts like this because they test the limits of what we think love is supposed to look like. Is love about gender, appearance, or shared emotional history? And let's be honest, this drama is going to spark debates everywhere. If you were in Yoon-jae's position, would you fight to keep the relationship? Or would the confusion be too much to handle? Let's shift gears completely with 12, which feels much bigger in scale and tone. Inspired by the 12 zodiac animals of the East, this drama tells the story of 12 angels living in human form to protect the Korean peninsula from evil spirits. Long ago, they sacrificed themselves to seal the forces of evil, but now those forces are awakening again. Just reading the cast list already gives you an idea of how intense this drama is going to be. Ma Dong-seok alone brings a powerful presence, and when you add actors like Park Hyung-sik and Seo In-guk into the mix, you know the emotional and action scenes are going to hit hard. What really excites me about 12 is how it blends mythology with modern reality. These aren't perfect beings living in the clouds. They're angels walking among humans, dealing with everyday life while carrying the weight of an ancient responsibility. I love fantasy stories that explore sacrifice and duty, especially when characters have to choose between personal happiness and the greater good. It makes you think about what it really means to be a hero. If you were one of these angels, would you willingly give up a normal life to protect people who might never even know your name? Bon appetit. Your Majesty is one of those dramas that sounds quirky at first, but the more you think about it, the more potential you see. An award-winning French chef traveling 500 years into the past and meeting a tyrant king who happens to be a gourmet is such an unexpected combination, yet it somehow works perfectly. Lim Yuna as Yun Ji-young brings modern confidence and warmth into a rigid historical setting, while Lee Chae-min's portrayal of King Lee Hyun adds complexity to a character labeled as the worst of tyrants. What I really enjoy about this setup is how food becomes a form of communication and power. Cooking isn't just about survival here, it's about influence, trust, and emotional connection. Time travel dramas often focus on changing history, but this one feels more intimate. It's about changing one person at a time, starting with someone who has absolute power. It also raises a fun question. If you could go back in time with your modern skills, would you use them to change the world, or just to survive comfortably? And honestly, watching a modern chef impress a historical king through food alone sounds incredibly satisfying. Next up is Genie Make-A-Wish, a drama that taps directly into one of humanity's oldest fantasies, getting everything you ever wanted. Kim Woo-bin plays Genie, a mysterious spirit who awakens after 1,000 years to grant 3 wishes to Ka Young. a woman who has become emotionally numb. On the surface, this feels like a classic wish-granting story, but what makes it compelling is the emotional contrast between the characters. Jeannie is ancient, powerful, and bound by rules, while Ka Young has lost the ability to feel excitement or desire. Susie's casting works really well here because she can portray emotional distance without making the character feel cold. I love fantasy dramas that question the idea of happiness. Are wishes really the answer, or do they just expose what we're lacking emotionally? And what would you even wish for if you didn't know what you wanted anymore? This drama has the potential to be both romantic and philosophical, especially as the wishes start to change not just Ka Young's life, but Jeannie's understanding of humans as well. If you were given only 3 wishes, would you use them for yourself or for someone else? Moon River brings us into classic fantasy romance territory with a historical twist and a soul swap premise. Crown Prince Lee Gang has lost his smile, Park Dao Lai has lost her memory, and through mysterious circumstances, their souls are switched. Body swap and soul swap stories always work best when they force characters to confront perspectives they would never experience otherwise. And this drama leans fully into that idea. Kang Tae-oh and Kim Se-jung are both excellent choices because they can balance emotional depth with lighter moments. What I find especially interesting here is how power and vulnerability shift. A crown prince suddenly experiencing life without authority, and a woman navigating the palace in a body that holds immense power creates endless emotional and moral tension. Fantasy here isn't just about romance, but empathy. It asks whether understanding someone else's pain is the key to healing your own. Watching this kind of story always makes me wonder how different the world would be if we could truly live a day in someone else's life. Would it make us kinder, or would it overwhelm us? Finally, we have Cachero, which might be the most unconventional superhero drama you'll come across. The main character, Kang Sang-eung, is an ordinary government employee whose strength increases based on how much cash he's carrying. To save the world, he literally has to empty his wallet. This concept is hilarious, but also strangely realistic. Money equals power, but using that power comes at a personal cost. Lee Jun-ho fits this role perfectly because he can portray both ordinariness and quiet determination. What I really like about Cachero is how grounded it feels despite being a superhero story. This isn't about flashy suits or godlike abilities, but about sacrifice in the most practical sense. Every heroic act costs something tangible. It also subtly comments on capitalism and responsibility, which makes the fantasy aspect even more interesting. It made me think about how often real-life heroes are ordinary people who give up comfort and security to help others. If your superpower depended on losing something valuable every time you used it, how often would you choose to be a hero? What makes this top 6 fantasy K-drama list so exciting is how each story uses fantasy in a completely different way. From playful rom-com chaos to epic mythological battles and deeply emotional journeys. Whether it's questioning the nature of love, the cost of power, the meaning of happiness, or the weight of responsibility, these dramas prove that fantasy isn't about escaping reality, but understanding it from a new angle. If you had to pick just one drama from this list to watch first, which one would it be and why? Are you drawn to lighthearted chaos, emotional romance, or high-stakes action? Let me know in the comments, because your perspective might just convince someone else to start a drama they never expected to love.